Welcome to a special Krypton report. I am Tyler, one of your hosts, the Superman of Blue, the Man of Tomorrow. And with me, as I've talked about before, it's been a while. I do like to talk to artists and creators who aren't in the mainstream. And today I have two super dudes, or Mr. Tony and Joey, the artist, and Tony, the writer.
Hello.
What's up, guys?
Hey, what's going on?
How's it going? Good to be here.
I'm
Yeah, thanks
pretty
for having
good.
us.
I'm glad to have you guys. Oh, of course, of course. Just for everybody, I think we got a little bit of a lag here, so just bear with us if we pause or stumble over each other. Not really sure whose end it is because that's life and internet.
Yeah.
So, first of all, just kind of introduce yourself. Tell us, a little bit about yourself, what you do, Tony, and we'll kind of get into the project. But we'll just kind of, who are you as people, and like what's your thing? So,
Cool.
Sure. Yeah. You want to go first, Joey?
I was going to ask if you wanted to go first.
Okay. I'll go first. We're both so polite.
We'll go alphabetical.
yeah,
Yeah. So I'm Anthony Iannaccio. I'm a writer. This is my first comic, my first full-length comic. SuperGuy. We're here to talk SuperGuy. Me and Joey did a one-shot together, and that was our first comic project, like our first official comic project. That was 10 pages. And we knew we had to go bigger. So this is something we've been working on for a while. And I'm a writer, but I haven't written comics before. So I've written comedy sketches, I've done short stories, things like that, stand up even, but this is my first venture into comics. So I'm hoping people come out for this one.
Nice.
cool.
Yeah.
All right, Joey.
I'm from originally I'm from Alaska. Moved down here just over 10 years ago. Been drawing and arting basically all my life. Never really did much comic book stuff until kind of recently. I did a few little one shots of my own through Instagram, but never any kind of like long form storytelling comic book until Anthony came around and was just like, hey, here's what I'm doing. I'd love you to be a part of it. And it's just been pretty much a blast.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. And like I'm learning as I'm going, and I'm still relatively new to the comic book world, but a little bit that I read, I kind of try to incorporate into my own form of visual storytelling through my art and everything. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm excited to see where it keeps going.
Cool. I will say, reading what you had sent me, there is a uniqueness to it, and we'll get more.
Thank you.
And I think, based on what you said, like you both are new to comics. And I think you go back and you read comics from the 90s, in that late 80s, early 90s, that boom where there was a bunch of different publishers, a bunch of indie comics, like Malibu, and some of those more underground that got popular and stuff. I think now comics have become so much boiled down format that some of the uniqueness has kind of been lost.
For sure.
And I think that's where you find it more in the indie and stuff for people who are figuring it out, because there's not really a wrong way to do it. So I think, and we'll talk more when we get into your book, but yeah, cool. Let's start here. First, how did you guys, first of all, what are you guys into reading right now? I know right when we got started, Tony, you had said something, and we'll just bring it up. Tony's been reading some Frank Miller Daredevil.
Yes,
The second
sir.
person I've talked to who's, brought up that into the conversation, and I'm going to be reading it. But like, what are you guys into right now? Like, what else are you reading or anything?
Right now, I'm 2 out of the 3 invincible compendiums. I still need to start the 3rd one. I'm waiting for it to be delivered, so I've been really into that. I'm almost done with the Black Sad, as much as it's been published so far.
Oh, nice.
Love the art in Black Sad. Those are the 2 main ones right now. I have Saga coming up that's next on my list that Anthony hooked me up with. He's like, you got to read this. This is right up your alley. So I'm very excited. yeah, so that's what I'm reading currently. I grew up on like Archie comics and Calvin and Hobbes and stuff like that. So like that's always like in the back of my mind, at least artistically. It's just like, how would Bill Watterson draw this?
I can see that. Now that you say that, I can see that. Cool. Yeah. I did the whole Invincible run last year. I think it was right after, was it season 2 ended? The second part of season 2, the series. I was like, man, I just want to read through this whole thing. And I just
good.
and I read it. And I'm just like, I'm watching the series, and I'm like, please do the whole run. Please just like, stick to this and just finish the whole run, because it does have some really good parts. So I enjoyed that. So what else are you reading, Tony?
I just got done reading a bunch of Batman. So I also do a podcast, Comics and Chronic. In all of March, we were talking about Batman books. So I read Death in the Family, The Cult, Earth One.
I like the Earth One series.
I loved Earth One. Yeah. And White Knight.
White Knight was cool. It was
very
just
cool.
That's like the epitome of like doing an Elseworld, something where you're like, excuse me, the what if, and putting something that really changes it. I liked the White Knight run.
It was fun, yeah.
And I when they were doing the Earth One stuff, I really liked Batman. I really liked Superman.
Yes.
The Green Lantern, they did the one was okay.
I like that one.
Oh, the Green Lantern one was great too. Yeah.
The Teen Titans was good. I wouldn't say it's great. It was good. I like there was some uniqueness to it. The Wonder Woman I wasn't a fan of, and I'll tell you why. It's because it was a story that Grant Morrison had pitched years and years before, called The Trial of Diana Prince, because I actually heard him talk about it on Fat Man on Batman back when it was Fat Man on Batman. And he talked about it, and then he's like, yeah, we pitched this. I wrote this story for DC, and then it never got released. And then they just kind of turned it into Wonder Woman Earth 1. So,
I didn't know that. Oh,
yeah.
man.
So like when I read it, I was kind of disappointed a little bit, just because I felt like they were just like, we have this story, we're doing this run, we'll just throw it over here, instead of really taking the Earth 1 concept with Wonder Woman as much.
Mm-hmm.
And then they were supposed to do a Flash. I don't think they ever did the Flash.
Yeah, I heard they were going to do the Flash and Aquaman, and then nothing happened with those.
And I just thought they were great, like Elseworld origin type stories that really showed you the Earth or the world, if that was the only hero on it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
Oh, that's cool.
But
yeah, they're worth checking out. I kind of agree exactly with how you rated each of them. I did love Green Lantern, though. I think it's just for the art alone, that one's worth checking out.
I really need to revisit it. To be honest, like I read it, and it's like you probably have done this too, where you get a comic you're waiting on, it shows up, you're not really in the mood or in the right mindset to read it, but you do it because you're like, oh, I've been waiting for this, and then it doesn't hit you on the spot, and you just kind of like put it like on your shelf, and that's that. So
yeah, I've been there for sure.
Yeah, I need to pull it back out and redo that. But so we're here to talk about, you guys have your own project. As we get into discussing the book a little bit itself, I want to know how did you guys meet? Like where did that spark come from? I mean, we're talking on the internet because like I follow Tony. I don't even remember how I think just because of podcast stuff, like I found your Comics and Chronic, then followed you individually. And then you put out like, hey, I want to guest about SuperGuy stuff. And I was like, sure. Like,
yeah,
we can do it, So we met on
I love it.
I don't even like, I'm still trying to migrate as much as I can to Blue Sky and learn the other ones, but it's either X or Blue Sky, one of them. But how did you guys meet up?
Well, we met through a mutual friend, through the Comics and Chronic podcast. Buddy of ours, Jake, contacted me. He was like, "Hey, I'm doing this podcast. I'd love you to do the logo." And I was like, "That'd be cool. Here it is." And it's kind of met through that, basically. Like that's the short version.
Yeah, I mean, we just kind of hit it off, like, oh my
Yeah.
God, that logo is great. Like, and then you kind of like with Instagram, I guess, and this just happens with a lot of people, like whether I've known Joey for just a few years or like other people, like, decades, like just kind of send reels back and forth to each other. And like,
Yeah.
you kind of get like a sense of someone else's like sense of humor and like what they're into. And like, so far, me and Joey like are the same exact type of nerd, like we're into the
Mhm.
same things, like comic books, obviously, and like the same sense of humor, which I think is really important in like every friendship, but also just like this type of project where
Oh yeah.
being funny is like what drives Super Guy, the story,
Mm.
and getting the jokes right are like so important. And me and Joey like working together, we just make it happen. So like
Oh yeah.
that's such a big part of our friendship, I would say.
Cool.
I
That's
agree.
that's
I
exciting.
agree.
Right.
Mhm. So you guys have created your own book. Now, is it going to be? This is always one thing I talk to when I go to conventions anymore. One of my biggest areas is I like to find the independent creators. Like I still kick myself about 2 or 3 years ago. I can't keep track of time. There was an independent comic book creator guy who basically wrote, "What if the universal monsters were used in World War II to fight Nazis?"
What?
That
And
sounds
his
awesome.
book was awesome, and I didn't have all the enough money to get it, but I bought like a Wolfman sticker, Frankenstein, and Dracula sticker.
Nice.
Um,
That's really cool.
and my thought was, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna hit this con. He'll be back, and he has not been back. And I've searched,
Oh,
and I'm still mad because it was one of those like as I was leaving, and
Oh,
after that, I made them like the fact to myself. I say when I go to conventions, because a lot of times I'll do panels. I'm gonna search out, and the books I'm gonna buy are all independent creators.
nice.
So I find tables, and books, and support trying, those people. And I say that because, first of all, one of the things I ask those people are when you create these, are you doing it as like if I could do a monthly? Like I met a guy who was kind of doing a monthly. He had the first 6 issues written and was selling them. And then I've written people or met people who've written them kind of like this is our story and we're publishing it physical as like a trade and we're just selling it as a trade. We're not going to sell individual issues. What's kind of your thought goal of how you want to distribute, market, and kind of get the readership of Super Guy?
For sure. I mean, I think what our dream would be is to like if this was a monthly book, oh my God, that would be amazing.
yeah.
With our resources and time and this just being a side thing for us, we both have day jobs. I wish this could be something that, we both could focus on 24/7. Um, like the goal being like maybe to get 4 to 6 issues made, and then release it as a trade for sure. Again, this is our first Kickstarter, first comic, so I'm interested to see how this campaign goes and then assess everything from that point. But definitely a series.
Cool. Because, that's like, seeing I ran into like I usually do about 2 to 3 cons I hit a year, and I see some of the same people. And like this one guy, he's there pushing his comic, and it's the first issue. And then I saw him again about a year later, and it's still just the first issue. And that's when I
Oh,
was kind of thinking, like, you know, how do you? What's the best way to go? Do you sell a trade? So you're selling 6 issues? Do you sell them into, And I think that's kind of hard for someone who has the more limited resources, where you're like, building up. But digital's now a big thing too,
Mhm.
So, but let's talk the story. Let's we kind of got an idea what you want to do, and I want to make sure that everyone knows about the Kickstarter and about how they can support, where they can get the product, or the whole shebang. Um, where did you start with this idea? Like, how did it come about? And you guys kind of got the ball rolling on, hey, we should create this story, and give us kind of a synopsis of who Super Guy is.
Sure. So there's an anthology that came out called the Unknown Heroes Anthology, the second volume of it, I should say. And the creators of that messaged me a couple of years ago, I guess, at this point, and they said, "Hey, do you want to do a story? A 10-pager. The theme is just superhero team up." And I was like, "Oh my God, this is my chance to finally do a comic." Um, and like Joey was saying before, we have a mutual friend, Jake, and the only reason I know Joey is through him and through his art for the podcast. So I was like, this is an artist that I like. I see his stuff on Instagram all the time at Jorian. And I was like, if there's anybody I want to work with right now, it's Joey. Like, and if he has the time and he's down to do something, which was at the time nothing except what I just described, like super right. Like I was just like, hey Joey, would you be down for a project? He was like, hell yes, you know. And so I threw a few ideas at him of like these different scenarios we could do, and immediately he was like, the super guy one. Let's do super guy, which is just the basic story of the 10-pager is super guy gets a call from the president to go save his daughter who's been kidnapped by aliens. However, super guy's the type of superhero that is very lazy, really doesn't want to save the day, might be a bit incompetent. He has powers, but he doesn't want to use them. So in this first scenario, in this first 10-page one-shot, which, by the way, anybody listening, anybody backing the Kickstarter or not, I will send you a free PDF copy of the one-shot so you could get a taste of Super Guy before, you know, you contribute to the Kickstarter, whether you want to or not. But yeah, in that story, the aliens invade, but it's actually alien robots. The leader of the robots, we don't know his name. He's just an evil looking robot. He goes to fight Super Guy. He beats the crap out of Super Guy. As he's going to deliver what we assume is going to be the killing blow, a bolt of lightning hits Robot Guy. He gets reprogrammed. Super Guy tells him he's actually his sidekick. He becomes Robot Guy, sidekick to Super Guy, is immediately ordered to destroy the fleet of alien ships that have just come to destroy Earth, which are his people. Without question, he does what he's told. The White House is destroyed in the process. We did it before Captain America: Brave New World, by the way.
I can vouch for that because because we were supposed to originally record a couple of months ago. And then we decided to push it because of Kickstarter.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I read it I want to say I read it back in January, or maybe or December. I don't know. It's been a while, but yeah, they did it.
Yep. And so that story ends basically with a scene with Super Guy and Robot Guy where he's like, all right, Robot Guy, thanks for saving the day. Not thanks for saving the day. He doesn't thank him. He just is like, cool, that shit's done. Oh, sorry. Can we curse? Am I not? Okay. That stuff's done. And we see that Robot Guy's eyes turn red, signifying like, is he evil again? We don't know. And that's a big part of the issue going forward. And what we're here to talk about, Super Guy #1. Like there is some backstory there in that one shot that, you know, I kind of urge everyone to check out. Again, it's free. But we've kind of set up that first issue so that even if you decide not to read that for whatever reason, that you could still get what that part I'm just talking about. We inserted into this first issue in flashbacks and dialogue in different ways. But yeah,
all the relevant backstory is there.
Yeah.
So in the first issue, will the first issue contain those 10 pages, kind of like an Action Comics 1, Superman 1 kind of thing?
No, it won't. Like the first issue, it'll stand alone as 28 pages. But like I said, we'll include the 10-page digital copy for anyone.
Gotcha.
For everybody, literally anybody that's backing the Kickstarter or again just wants a sample before they even, you know, check out the book. But maybe in the future as like and someone actually suggested this to me as like a 1.5, you know, like maybe if we do another Kickstarter or whatever that may be, that we can include it as like a bigger size issue. I didn't want to make it too complicated, like with printing and making the first issue too big, because again, this is my first time printing, you know, comics like this too. I mean, hey, it's not a bad idea to include those extra 10 pages. So, you know,
maybe something down the line. Yeah. That's like we did a podcast. It's been a while where we kind of re-examined Action Comics 1, Superman 1, and even the first dailies, where they were all like the same with little tweaks here and there, where they expanded on and used similar stuff. Because, you know, the dailies were when they would print the newspapers, little comic strips, and the first comic books were like collections of those in a book form. So That's cool though. I like, what's funny is, much like with Invincible, okay, we were talking about that, is like the first time I watched Invincible and then read it, I didn't know what I was getting into. Like, because, Invincible is this brightly colored world, and you have these archetypes of other heroes you're kind of seeing, but then it's hyper violent and extreme, and you're brutal, and I wasn't like, I didn't really know what I was getting into when I watched it because I wasn't that familiar with it. It was always one of those things like, oh, that looks interesting, that looks good, and I hadn't got to it. So like the first time when I read the SuperGuy 10P, I was like, wait a minute, I don't know if I got this. Like I got it, but it wasn't what I was expecting, So then I went back through it and I kind of felt out the tone. And I was like, okay, now I'm grooving. Like I have a better sense because like I didn't know what to expect, and I sat down to read it because we were going to record soon, and I knew it was coming up, and like I was reading through it, and I was like, yeah, is this supposed like? So I read it, and I was like, huh. My wife's like, what? I was like, hold on, let me reread this, and I reread it. I was like, now I get the tone. Like I feel it now, and I feel like now I get it, and I see the rhythm. I'm like, okay, now I'm on board more because I'm understanding what they're going for. It's like any kind of like sometimes like with comedy films or whatever, you watch it and you're like, I don't know if I got it, and then it sinks in, and then you're like, and you watch it again, and you're like, okay, it's like Dimitri Martin's comedy.
Ooh, I love him. Yeah.
Okay, you know what I'm saying? Like it takes, or even like Jim Gaffigan's a little bit his older stuff where he would talk as the audience voice. Like when you start listening, it took a little bit to, like it would take a minute to kind of get his rhythm and like understand it. And once you did, you're like, I'm on board. I get this now. So that's cool, man.
I totally get that. So wait, question. Sorry, did you get a chance to read the first issue?
I did not. Because,
okay. So we're just
because.
All right, so spoiler free.
Yeah, nice. Okay.
No, because here's why. I saw it come back through, and I was like, aha, and I downloaded it to my iPad to read for the recording because I'm like, make sure this isn't what you'd already read. Okay, now my daughter had taken my iPad today and drained it, and then it is. I asked her for it earlier. She's like, I'll get it because I told Joey this before we started recording. The past 2 days have been extremely busy. My kids just finished their play, and they did a double header yesterday because they did a special extra. They did a special presentation at a more accessible facility where handicapped, wheelchair accessible, because our local theater, their wheelchair ramp is broken, their lift. So they ended up doing 2 shows yesterday. We came home, like we were gone all day yesterday. We were wiped. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna read it before we record. And then we came today, and I was like, Sayla, where's my iPad? Oh, Daddy, I don't remember where I put it. I'm like, so it's just, and then it's like I'm recording in my living room because the kids are still trying to wind down and get ready for school tomorrow. And it's just been, I was like, oh man, but
no, Tyler, it's all good.
I'm bummed because like because I hate this. Like there's that window when it comes to comics where if I read it too far back, I'll forget, but I won't read it too soon because like, I do multiple Superman podcasts and I guest on stuff, and there's always a lot of reading. I'm like, oh, I'll get my reading done, but then it's like too much time goes by and it starts to blend because you always want to have that little bit of freshness.
I totally get that.
And that was my goal, but I really enjoyed the 10-page, and I was like, all right, cool, because like it said issue 1, I'm like, wait, this is different, right?
But that's a good point because I do want to point that out because I've been like sending the SuperGuy one shot to so many people. I even made it into an ash can that I gave out at New York Comic Con and some other places. That 10 pages, it's the standalone one shot. The first issue is 28 completely new, brand new pages. Those, like we were saying, those 10 pages are separate. You're getting 28 pages of a completely new story. So yes, it's a continuation of that. But again, it's totally different from that one shot I've been like hawking on across social media the past year or so.
And I mean, that's important, and it makes it that much better of a project.
Thanks, man.
So let's talk about the Kickstarter. Like, what's your goals? What you're doing with it and everything? Like, tell us all about it.
Sure. So the Kickstarter launches on March 20th, which is at the time of this recording, this upcoming Thursday. We're trying to raise the goal I have in mind is $2,000. And that's let me say this. Joey is our main artist, and he does the cover. He inked it, he penciled it, he paneled it, he colored it. He did letters for it. He did all the art for it. So and he's been paid already. We have 3 variants, possibly a 4th surprise one coming up that it hasn't been 100% finalized yet, so I can't really say anything about it. But 3 variants from 3 really talented artists. They've all been paid for. I wanted to make sure everything about the process was paid for before the Kickstarter launched. I wanted to make sure the book was finished before the Kickstarter launched. I know not a lot of people do that. Maybe they're mid-process. So I want everyone listening to know that this book is finished. It just needs to go to the printer. So the purpose of the Kickstarter is to raise some more money so that, because I paid for everything out of pocket, but now I want to, print it and get a little bit back, hopefully, from what I put in. But really, the main goal is I just want to get a physical copy of SuperGuy into as many people's hands as possible. With this first one, I wouldn't care. Like, for me, a win is, and I want, Joey, if you want to speak on this too, like a win for me with this project is people reading it and saying the kind of things you're saying, like this, I thought it was funny and made me laugh. Yeah. This is different. The art feels different. Everything about this comic is not what I would get from a mainstream comic. Like, if that's what everyone gets from it, that's a win for me. I don't care how much money we do or don't make, whether that's good or bad, I don't know.
And as long as like people are like enjoying it and laughing and like just, wanting more, ideally, then I feel like we've come out on top.
Hell yeah.
My thing is, one thing that you said I really like is so many times with the Kickstarter, first of all, you have that 10-pager, the one shot.
Yes.
Which is great because it's like a proof of concept. It's like you can do this. But like you said, the book is done.
Yep.
And I think that's exciting because so many times you see these Kickstarters come up and you're like, I'm going to give money. You're not sure if you're going to see a return or see a product when or if at all.
Right.
But what you're built out is, hey, I have it. I just need the rest of the money to finish the printing. And here's a digital copy if you want, for now, and then the physical copy's on its way.
Yep.
However, however you guys do it. But like the idea is,
by the way, everyone who buys a physical copy, and sorry to interrupt you, they will be getting a free digital copy of the issue too. If you don't want to buy a physical copy, you pay for the digital copy. But if you buy a physical copy, whether it's a variant or the main cover, you're getting a free digital copy of the comic.
And I just, I appreciate that too, because then you're getting the product already. Like you're, in some shape or form, you are going to get what your money's worth. So that's a boost for everybody who's listening. It's like would you consider it like satirical in nature with your story, or just more comedy buffoonery, or just like what would you kind of compare it to if you had to?
That's a good question. Definitely more comedy buffoonery. Like, like we're taking shots. Like, obviously, SuperGuy is a play on Superman in a lot of ways. But I was kind of tired of evil Superman. Me
too.
I was like, what about lazy Superman? We haven't really seen lazy Superman. Like, what if he had like, I was thinking, honestly, what if I had Superman's powers? I don't really want to go, even with the quote unquote powers I have now. Do I want to use them, to, sometimes I just want to sit on the couch. Yeah. Who wants to deal with that?
No, I think it's a great concept because, you're always like, oh, if I had powers, what would I do? And like, sometimes I'm like, yeah, I would do good stuff. But then it's like, sometimes you're like, look, I just want to sit around, eat some chips.
Exactly.
Like, okay, I don't want to take the world's problems on my shoulders.
Yeah, man, I want some me time.
Yeah. So yeah. With SuperGuy, I think it'll be fun. Are you guys going to hit the con circuit and have a booth? Or are you just planning on doing everything online? You're going to get out there, like any local retailers that are going to carry the book for you guys or anything?
I hadn't even thought about cons, to be honest. Right. I'm just focusing on finishing the book. But
I mean, as the person creating it, yeah, of course, as the person who's interested in buying it, like you have a different perspective. Like years ago when I was in my band and we did stuff, there was some local shops here that basically said, we'll carry your record, and what we'll do is we'll just charge $1 more than what you would want. So if you were going to sell it for 10, we'll sell it for 11. We'll keep the $1, you get the 10. You know, and it was like,
That's
cool.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like you had a distribution kind of thing of like, and I know there's a couple comic shops here that have deals with like local people in the Columbus area. So,
I mean, I do have a few small plans. So like the 2 local shops that I go to, so I'm from the Bronx, I'm in New York. The 2 shops I go to, they already took some ash cans of the one shots that I printed out, very limited supply. And I didn't sell those, by the way. Like I just said, hey, put them out. I just wanted to see if people would be interested. If they saw that cover, hey, the Super Guy seem interesting. And sure enough, in both places, they took all the copies, which was great.
Nice.
So for this one, obviously I want them to sell it, and yeah, exact same concept. I think they would honestly even be like, no, like, because I've been going to both for so long, they probably would just be like, whatever money, however much it is, which it would be $10. That's how much, I would get back. And I would want, Joey to get some copies too. The thing is, Joey's on the West Coast, I'm on the East Coast. So like once it's printed, I have to get a bunch to him for sure. Con wise, this is so new to us. I've been to a lot of cons. I am going to be at the Bix Comic-Con in Brooklyn, which is an independent comic book. It's I've never been to it, but it's a 2-day con at the end of April. So that would be my first con as a creator. And and I'll have printed copies by then. That's like only like a week or so after the campaign ends, but I'm definitely going to be printing some copies very soon. Because I expect at least a certain number of people to buy these, but I know that, I could have at least a limited supply for now and push it out outside of Kickstarter once the campaign ends.
Gotcha. That's awesome. Like I'm excited for you guys.
Thanks,
Thank you.
So let me just ask, we're at issue 1. How far are you in the production of issue 2?
Anthony?
I mean, truth be told, while Joey was, just penciling this first issue, I did send him a script for a second issue. But I'm definitely probably going to rework that. Again, I really just need to see, like, are people going to show up for Super Guy? Like, is this just something that seems like, everyone that's read it so far, and not to toot our horns, but everyone seems to love it. Like, people are being like, our good friends are being like, we're not saying this to you just because you're our friends. Like, we like this, like, and I'm trying to send out copies to so many people just because, how you were saying before, like with Kickstarters, maybe it's not even made yet. So, people don't know what they're getting. I want to send it to people like you with podcasts and websites and just a social media presence to just be like, hey, I have read this, and Anthony and Joey are not lying. This is a fun book. You should check it out. Again, because that's what success would mean for us, that people are just reading this.
I know I have a couple friends who do like independent publishing and authors, and my one friend, she put her one book, it was a series, and she put, I think I don't remember if it was the first full book or like half the first book for free to read, like online and everything, to get people interested in the story. And then if they're interested, they got to get the rest of the book. And then there's the part 2 and part 3. And I'm like, I think as an independent, sometimes you have to have something already. And I hate saying like free, but something for people to read and digest of what it is, because they're not as quick to want to spend their time and money. So
yeah. And I think what's even better about that is, like, at least for me, at least as a writer, it's hard to be like, hey, like, at least on social media, to be like, look at my writing, because it's usually a link that people won't follow. But for Joey, he has Instagram, and art is just there. And like, if you want a taste of Joey's art, he's been doing weekly comics, quickie comics for so long, and his own art on top of that. Like, go to Instagram, you'll see so much of his art, and he brings all of that and more to Super Guy, which I want to stress too. Like, that's where so much of the personality of Super Guy comes from. It's like Joey's designs of Super Guy and Robot Guy, the Prez, like, they're just so alive. Like you even said before, Calvin and Hobbes, like, Joey has that energy, and I just love that style.
Thanks,
Well,
man.
I hope all the best for you guys. I'd love to, in a couple of months, touch back base and just see how's it going. Like where are we at? Like how's
No,
Super
for
Guy
sure.
getting out there?
Yeah.
And I'm definitely going to have this out quick, to help you guys with the Kickstarter.
Thank
But
you.
where can people find you guys on socials? Like you've said, hey, I'm on Instagram, but like, what are your plugs?
For me, Instagram and Blue Sky, it's at Joe Ryan. That's JORION. Orion, like the constellation. My middle name. And then, or no, not Blue Sky. Sorry, Threads. On Blue Sky, I'm Jorion's belt.
Nice.
On Blue Sky.
Isn't it crazy? Like I'm on this, on this, on this. Then you're just gonna be like, just click on this link tree.
Yes.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I guess
like,
you can find me there. Yeah, that's my main stuff. That's where all my stuff is.
And I'm at Mr. Tony Nacho everywhere, like Instagram, Threads. I am on Twitter, but I don't really use it anymore. So if you send me a DM, I probably won't see it. But I'm there temporarily just for like this campaign, and then I'll probably like really delete it. Blue Sky, of course, that's like my biggest place. You'll find me there all the time. I am on TikTok, I guess, too. I might be posting there a little more to try to get the word out about Super Guy. But Blue Sky is where you should find me, Mr. Tony Nacho.
cool.
And I have a link tree there that, yeah, please follow that. That also has everything I just said.
Yeah,
and more.
it helps, especially when you have to like tweak your name. But
Yeah.
all right, guys, thanks for the chat.
Thanks, Tyler.
Absolutely. Thanks
This
for
was
having us.
fun.
Yeah, of course. I'm gonna have all the links, guys, in the show notes at the bottom. So check it out so you can guys support the Kickstarter. Check out Super Guy. Reach out to both of them and talk with them. They're cool guys to chat with. Like
Yeah,
I said,
DM me.
Yeah, come say hi.
me and Tony have kind of just chit-chatted over social media and emails, just getting ready for this. But yeah, check out Super Guy. You won't be disappointed. I will say maybe it's not your cup of tea if it's not, but you won't hate it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
I like that. Okay.
you know what I'm saying? Like, some people like, it's not mine. I can't. No, I don't like it. You'll read it and you're like, okay, cool, but like, it's not my thing. But I enjoyed it compared to like people who are like, oh, no, like, and I say that because it's like a positive on a negative, because even if it's not your thing, I think you'll still get something out of it and dig it enough. So you're like, yeah, it's cool.
Yeah.
But I really think that you will enjoy it, because it is, as someone who just enjoys the art of comics and reading stories told in this style, in this medium, it is something that's just nice. It's a throwback to, like you said, the Calvin and Hobbes, but just like the more cartoony, just cartoon style of comics, and reminds me a little bit of like Zits. You guys ever read the Zits comic strips?
Oh yeah, I love Zits.
Like, just like that
yeah.
flavor of just fun and humor. But it just it's a good time, honestly. Like I pulled it up here while you guys were talking and just kind of reading through a little bit. I'm gonna read it, the first issue.
Yeah,
Oh,
let
you're
us
gonna
know
love it.
once you read it. I would love to hear what you think, because I think also like
Read it now, live.
You guys and there's nothing worse than being like my wife does is like, hey, I wrote this. Will you read this? Because and she'll start reading. No, don't read it in front of me. Don't read it loud. Go in the other room, read it, and come back and talk to me about it. It's like I can't stand when you're like right there. So
But I think you'll like the first issue, because also like I think my writing and Joey's art, like we leveled up like from the one shot. I think there's a clear difference too. So if you like the one shot, I think you'll love the first issue even more.
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's the best way to end it, guys. I want to say thanks for being here. Hang on one second here.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Thank you.